Ooh boy, well that's not good. Got a bad case of green screen fire. This is a common side effect when you start putting out dumpster fire content that nobody likes. Your room lights on fire. Well, I guess your room gets edited on fire. It's about the same thing. Just you don't inhale as much smoke, but the damage is still the same. The instruction manual told me I have to put good content on top of it that people will absolutely love and will not insult your fan base at all. It will bring them all together. That's why I did a tier list on fan bases. Your boy simps for some coffee. So I might as well start with one of the first fan bases I have ever dealt with on my channel and one of my first series I have ever done, and that is the RWBY fan base. And I have to say, as far as fan bases go and how people can be accepting, RWBY fan base was actually a really nice fan base. I had very little problems with RWBY. And to be honest, most of the problems I've seen with RWBY fan bases, I've only heard about through people who came on my channel. Like, hey, whoa, Ryan, don't go over there. The RWBY fan base is like a good neighborhood right next to a bad neighborhood, where they tell you, don't go over there. Don't go over there. Somebody's saying mean things about Bernie Burns, and then they burned everything. I also have the weird experience of seeing the RWBY fan base at its infancy stage and the RWBY fan base now, because it has kind of evolved, because a lot of people have left for different reasons, and holy smokes, has this show had some controversies that has really muddled the fan base. And it's a damn shame, because at first it was just, hey, we're just loving the show, everyone talking about their opinions, and nobody was really toxic about, hey, I like this character or this character. Except for one. As I said, the bad neighborhood. The shippers. I know what you're thinking, Ryan, that's silly. The shipping community? Why would the shipping community have any problem with... You have no idea how big the shipping community is in RWBY. Which in most cases, shipping is whatever. It's something in the back. If you want to make dirty pictures of Gardevoir in your Pokemon spare time, go ahead. I don't have to look at it. But there's a problem that seemed to always rear its ugly head in the shipping community. People who had an idea of who was going to get with who, and if you disagreed with it, it wasn't, oh, this person disagrees with my opinion. It was destroy them at all cost. I watched as the Bumblebee shippers go absolute hog wild and shit on anyone who thought Blake would go with Sun. And you see, that's where the show was built. They built an entire Caesar route. It's where the guy she liked went and met her parents. It was like a war zone over who loves who. So, you know, you could put this with most anime ever. It's crazy, right? How many people get so invested in relationships that are literally fictional and non-existent and non-important. That was the number one problem of the RWBY community. And of course, then you had things like the show constantly changing writers and, of course, the Vic Mignogna scandal, which made it a lot worse because you had to have an opinion on one or the other, and most of the sides did not get along. You think he was innocent? You think he was guilty? They butt heads a lot. So, as much as I love the RWBY community, I would have to say, out of all of them, I think it's perfectly right in the middle. I think their fan base is very nice, but they do have their issues and their problems, so I'm putting them right in the middle. This next fan base, I can sum up with a single sentence. I turned myself into a pickle, Morty! A pickle Rick! Rick and Morty fan base ain't good. If you're gonna watch Rick and Morty, you watch the show and you don't go online. That's all you have to do. Because Rick and Morty fans are a very strange breed. It has these fans that are so either really stupid or think they're really smart. And that's the best way I can describe the Rick and Morty fan base. They all think they're intellectuals when they're not. Also, they think life sucks. I personally if you want to know, I like Rick and Morty. I've watched all the episodes, and I really enjoyed the show. But I have watched it devolved into this weird fan base that is unlike any other. That is this weird, I think I'm a super intellectual when I'm not. That's Rick and Morty in a nutshell. Also, I should mention, everybody, this is all personal opinion, and it's based off of experiences I've had. Everyone could have different experiences with fan bases. Which is why I really want to know what you guys think. I really want to know what you guys have found to be the worst and which you think were great fan bases. Ladies and gentlemen, out of all of these fan bases, there is one that I have only dealt with, I would say, maybe 1-2 times on my channel. But it is the only fan base that has actually scared me away from ever doing any more videos. And that's Warhammer. It is a series that I always was fascinated by from afar, right? I've always seen the games, and as a real big Warcraft fan, it kind of appealed to me because at times it had like similar aspects to it. Except don't you ever say that to their face. Oh boy! If there is anything I have learned about the Warhammer fanbase is you never mention the similarities in anything. For instance, when I watched this video, there's scenes of characters in big old suits of armors fighting a guy who shot lightning bolts out of his hands. Now, obviously, I was going to connect that to Star Wars. You have Sidious, they're kind of wrinkly face. I can see that a difference, and most of all, shoots lightning out of his hands. So all I said was, hey, this reminds me of Star Wars. That's like telling a Jew that you're a Nazi. Holy smokes, I have never seen anyone get more mad. Not only this, one of the few fan bases that I've met and had a physical bad experience with. Well, physical as in VR chat, so it's not tactically physical, but you know, they were over there. It's a weird thing because it feels physical, but it's not physical. It's gives you a simulation of talking to someone in real life, but of course it's not the real person because he's not really an anime girl or a Warhammer model in this case. I remember I simply asked, hey, how come people get so mad when they call it like Star Wars? Because I feel like there's a lot of aspects to like that Warhammer has with Star Wars. His response was screaming. I don't remember what he said. All I heard was, ah! And then he just took a gun out and started shooting at me. I don't know what happened. He may have been not mentally well. So you know what? Maybe that we'll put that to the side. But I can tell you that the comments are real. So it's a fan base that it fascinates me. I want to learn about the lore. I've even watched trailers for the new ones and fantastic stuff. But I don't. It feels like a fan base that if I said something I wouldn't know wrong, like just a thought that I had, like that one moment where I'd be like, oh, hey, I think this. Instead of responding with a simple, oh, well, Ryan, well, actually, it's this. It always is respond with insanity. So I'm personally going to put the Warhammer fandom on bad because I only have a small sample size right now. So for now, I'm just putting on bad. But to be honest with you, it is the only fan base that has truly scared me away from saying, nope, I don't want to be anything a part of this franchise. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to. Nope, because I have only had bad experiences from it. But at the same time, I have met people who are my subscribers who are not like this. It's somewhere in between. It's almost worse, but because of the sample size, I'm put in bad. But for the most part, it's worse. There's one thing I despise and find to be the worst thing you could ever do for a fan base, and I feel is almost inexcusable as a fan. And really, as fans, we should always shoo these people away and not pay attention to them. That's gatekeeping. People who love something and then somebody wants to get into the thing that you love and you respond with no. You either bully them out of it or you insult them, you get them out of it. You purposefully try to push them away. You don't want them in. You want that thing to be all yours. And it kind of feels that way a little bit with Warhammer, at least for my personal opinion. I don't actually know what it's like. I've never actually gone to a store where they're playing Warhammer, the board game or what. Is it a board game or RPG? Oh, see, I just did it right now. See, that's what I'm afraid of. I would have that question, and then someone would point a shotgun at my face. But there is one that I know is the most gatekeepery of all fan bases. And it's not even one fan base. It's multiple fan bases. I'm talking about card games. Some of the worst people you can be around is really dedicated card game players. Yu-Gi-Oh!, Hearthstone, Magic of the Gathering have some of the worst fandoms I've ever seen. Openly destroying people who try to get into the game to crush their hopes and dreams so that they can enjoy the game and have them never play the game again. If I was a company, if I was Konami or Wizard of the Coast, I would eradicate these fans because they openly make sure that they're buying less products. These people are the worst when it comes to fandoms. And I should say, Hearthstone is a different kind of fan base because it's digital, so really all you get is, well met. That being said, I can tell you, sometimes one emote after losing, like a well played, will send you into the red zone. I don't know what that is. I don't know what kind of crazy technology they've done to make me so infuriated by simple emotes. But it does in Hearthstone. But physical card games, like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, I have only witnessed the worst. Still, to this day, I will never play Magic of the Gathering because of its fan base. Openly not giving you information so they could crush you. The first time I ever played the game, they didn't tell me what flying was, and then they put a bunch of flying on the field and then killed me. And then I didn't have any anti-flying because I didn't know the game. And then he laughed at me after he beat him. He said, ha ha ha, you suck. That's hyper card game fans. I've actually talked to people like this. It's like, why do you crush people's hopes and dreams? Because it makes them feel good. They're so miserable as people that they will destroy new players and make sure they never play it or never want to play it and have a bad experience because they want to win. And they'll make the worst decks they can possibly make to make the game as bad as possible. I know there are good people who just like card games, but holy shit, the worst is unlike anyone else. Which is why, to me, card games are in the worst. That's right, My Little Ponies. A fan base that, to be honest with you, I never expected for me to walk over there. They were over there, I was over here. What was I doing? I was playing my Call of Duty 4s and racking up my win streak with the boys. One day I stayed on my channel. I wanted to know about the fan base because it fascinated me. The entire thing was fascinating. Why is this very girly show very beloved by a male fan base? What is it that connects? I love cartoon. I am a cartoon fan through and through. I was born through the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon golden age of cartoons, the best of the best. So, as a cartoon fan, I want to know, what was it? Like, was it like Adventure Time, where it was shown as a kid's show, but it was done with more adult themes? So, I sat down and watched the entire first season and the first 2 episodes of season 2 on my channel. And I have to say, they weren't that bad. I really think the My Little Ponies fans get a bad rap because it seems so weird. People who don't understand things usually don't like it. And I gave them an open chance, and I did it with, hey, I'm doing this with an open mind. Here I go. And they were a really nice fan base. They were really accepting and almost could say magic. The show's about friendship, it's magic. You kind of hope that the fan base would at least be good when the entire show teaches you. It'd be weird that they're just like, no, Ryan, actually, when you get into it, it's friendship is anarchy. But there is one problem I have with the MLP fan base, and really is the reason I've never gone back to MLP after a while. You're either a brony or you're not. And when you go into that fan base not a brony, they're very pushy about you being into it. which is where I find the fan base to be really not fun. And I don't really blame MLP for their toxic behaviors at times, because let's be honest, folks, it's not like they get the most gleaming rap. If you say you like MLP, it's usually followed up by, what are you, gay? They aren't seen fondly. So I don't really blame them for their kind of pushy behavior, because I know out of all the fan bases, this is one that gets beat on from every single direction. So if you're wondering where I will put the MLP fan base or the bronies, I will personally put it in good. They personally were very nice to me. I thought they were a very kind fan base. The only problem is they're very pushy about you're either in or you're out. And moving on through what I did after MLP, the next franchise I did was Gravity Falls. And I can easily say 10 out of 10 great. I have had zero problems with the Gravity Falls community. Maybe because it is old, maybe it was worse back then, but as far as the Gravity Falls, like, fan base, I have nothing bad to say about it. I've never experienced anything. I've never seen it. It's just people who enjoyed the show, and we're just trying to figure out the show together. And because the show is so freaking good, and you don't have anything really bad to say, and even the bad is literally just mediocre to still kind of good, it's easy. This is an easy one. This is simply just great. There are certain fan bases that I've been a part of, and I've heard is really bad, but I have literally experienced none of it. That's the Undertale fan base. I have never actually experienced any bad things with this game. I feel like maybe it is, once again, just like Pickle Rick, where once something becomes super popular and talked about over and over and over again, which is boop, it gets oversaturated, thus it becomes stale to people, which is a damn shame because I love Undertale so much. It is on my top 5 RPG games. I feel like it's done something that many games have not done, and that's due to the Paper Mario style of changing the RPG gameplay, making it unique, which making something unique is very rare in this day and age when it comes to video gaming, and also making a unique storyline kind of unique. I mean, they did a lot of tricks from I Am Scared, like with the game turning off and on, which I personally love. And I feel like after this kind of got oversaturated, especially with Doki Doki, which by the way is not on this list. I have no idea what the Doki Doki fan base is like, and you will not have me find out. But I really have not seen the toxic fan base. I'm gonna put Undertale in good because I know it exists. I know the bad fan base exists, but I have never met it ever. Is it just them being really protective? I feel like a lot of people who shit on the series either got too much spoilers. You can't go in with overhype. You just gotta go in and then that's when the game's magical. But I do speculate why this is, and that's where we come on to the next fan base. The Five Nights at Freddy's fan base. The Five Nights at Freddy's fan base is a weird fan base because I don't think it knows what it wants to be. Is it in the horror game fan base? Is it in the furry fan base? Is it in the animatronic furry fan base? That's a little bit above furry. They just, they were minding their own business till Freddy Fazbear came to town with his giant bear dick. But there is something I have noticed, and I think this may be also the same problem Undertale has. A kids fan base. When you have kids in your fan base that love a game, criticism does not compute. And their response is always, "You're dumb and stupid and you know nothing. What you're a loser." And that is the biggest problem with Five Nights at Freddy's. Its fan base is mostly little children. It's not like MLP where the fan base is mostly adults watching it with a hint of kids. In the boom of horror survival games for kids like Bendy and the Ink Machine and Hello Neighbor, Five Nights at Freddy's is the biggest. I personally love Five Nights at Freddy's. It's not for kids. The whole game is about a serial killer who's killed kids. I don't think Scott Cawthon ever intended the first game to be for kids, but it seems like he made the monsters more cartoony, and a lot of people don't actually get what I mean by this, but the monsters in 4 is very cartoon scary. It's over the top. It's not really scary. It just seems like something a kid would find scary. It's very hard to talk to people about it because most of the time online, you're talking to kids who have not gone through puberty yet. So that's why I give the old Five Nights at Freddy's fan base right in the middle. I'm gonna put it right in the middle. I don't think it's a bad fan base, but I just don't think it knows better. And thus, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So this next one I really thought about not putting on it, but there's certain that came up recently that made me kind of find a part of the fan base that I just don't like. And that's Pokemon. I love Pokemon. Always will. If you couldn't tell, buy all the Pokemon cards that are on my wall. And to be honest with you, most of it has always been a positive experience. Like, the bad ones really just kind of went over there. But lately, I've noticed I really don't like the competitive scene of it. I've noticed this a lot with the Nuzlocks. And I've seen people do Nuzlocks for fun. But then there's people who take it competitively, and all Pokemon are not Pokemon anymore. They're just numbers. A lot of people just see it as, I like this one because statistically it's the best one for this outcome, and that is something I hate about Pokemon. There's a certain YouTuber that I'm not going to mention that is in the Nuzlocke scene, which, by the way, is probably going to narrow it down, who did an entire stream where if you had differing opinions on Pokemon that you said you liked, and you're wrong, he was gonna ban you for a while. Seemed like such a toxic statement. Like, he was unable to process how people could like Pokemon just because Pokemon's made so you can have multitude of different Pokemon. You like what you like, that's what's beautiful about Pokemon. But he looked at it from a stat standpoint or thought, oh, that one's ugly, this guy's dumb. I hate that. Just let people like what they like. Once you find Pokemon to be stats and numbers, the game's boring. It's a math game. It's not supposed to be a math game. It's supposed to be collecting Pokemon and which one of the creatures you like, you put a part of your team. Because in reality, all the Pokemon are made to be able to get to the end of the game. So anyways, besides that rant, and I despise people who take Pokemon too seriously, and it's all about stats and not caring about the creatures itself, the entire point of the game, and make it into a big old math blasters game. I hate them. But that being said, the fan base itself, it's not too bad. Other than that small gripes, Pokemon fan base is an alright one. I'm putting it in good. I know I just shat all over it, but it's something, it's just bothered me for a while. This one right here, this fan base here, real jerks around here, by the way. I don't know if you guys have heard or seen the Politic fans. Wow, wee zowies. I have never met a fan base so toxic. Anyone who has a differing opinion on each other, wish death upon them and start an actual civil war. Wow, guys, you take it a little too serious. Worst. Nintendo is a fan base that I have to say I've met a lot of people that I've become friends with because they love Nintendo, because most people do love Nintendo. But the biggest problem with the Nintendo fan base is they are super protective. If you have a negative criticism about anything, they will come to back up Nintendo no matter how shady their business practices are, and usually just follow up with, it's just business, because they don't want to be wrong. The Nintendo fan base can be real wishy-washy. I've met more good than bad, but lately, with all the Nintendo mess-ups and big blunders, the amount of people that are unable to accept that people could have negative criticisms about Nintendo is quite big. I still love Nintendo a lot, but there's a lot of things that they did recently that really rubbed me the wrong way. So I think you should always say your opinions on things that you don't like with companies so they know and that they don't. Especially business practices. Stuff like having games that only come out for a limited time and then they take it down digitally. That should never be in the business place. It's shady business practices. And I honestly believe that they should not use the fear of missing out predatory tactic to mess with people and make them buy games more. It's gross. And I don't like it when fan bases defend things that are morally not great. Because when you do that, you end up with DLC where every game has DLC, and then it becomes loot boxes, and then monetization out the ass, where they can milk as much money out of us as physically possible. As of right now, I'm putting them in the middle, because they've been really bad. The fan base has been really defensive and attacking people left and right for different reasons. I would normally have put them in good, but for right now, they're right in the middle. But I feel like they'll probably go good. It depends on what Nintendo does. And who knows what Nintendo will do. This next one, I have never experienced personally, but I have seen so much. Ladies and gentlemen, what I personally think is the worst fan base I have ever seen. I'm talking about Korean pop fans. I have never seen a fan base have all the negative of every single one of these fan bases. Every topic I've ever brought up, maybe not kids, I don't know who listens to K-pop, have all attributed to the K-pop fan base. If anyone says anything negative about K-pop, the response is like stealing a Snickers bar and getting the death penalty. Wanting to cancel people, wanting to DDoS them, destroy their entire privacy for the love of pretty boy Asians. And the worst part about it is, not only do they not care, the Korean pop artists, they have no idea what they're saying. I can shit talk Korean pop idols all they want because they speak Korean. Even if they do speak English, there's no way they'll listen to the They're reading Korean comments right now, guys. You're defending them for nothing. There's no damage whatsoever. You're on the front lines of a war that doesn't exist. I have never seen more creators or people get utterly attacked, and then openly, when they say, hey, this guy has negative opinions on Korean pop, attack everyone. I have never seen a fan base take everything bad about a fan base and just go hog wild. You gotta look yourself in the mirror, guys. It doesn't matter. They're successful billionaires. I don't hate Korean pop. I don't like it either. It's not my cup of tea. I don't like country music, but it's not like the country fans come into my house with flaming torches. If you didn't know, Korean pop going in worst. I'm gonna put it above politics. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I've seen people in politics have more composure than K-pop. And the next one is the final fan base that I have personally dealt with, and that is the Helluva Boss has-been hotel fan base. And out of all of the fan bases, Ruby, My Little Ponies, Undertale, Five Nights at Freddy's, Gravity Falls, there's only one fan base I've ever had that has truly given me a mental breakdown, and that's the Helluva Boss fans. I don't know why, out of all the fan bases I've ever experienced, the Helluva Boss fan base I've had the most trouble with. It's a very protective fan base from what I've seen. If you have a negative opinion about it, people will be pissed. To the point, I actually had a conundrum in my brain where I had to ask myself, Ryan, are we gonna lie about this because this is something that's really popular that you like? Should I just not be myself and just bullshit it? I had to ask myself the question of that. Just because the fan base was so defensive over anything I said, even if it was little or small or just a snide little comment that meant nothing, they took it to heart. And I got a lot of comments that were very upset with me over things that were little or Stolas. And Stolas is something that I find fascinating as a character when I look at fan bases, because every fan base I've had since Ruby has had a Stolas, and I've always hated them. Weiss, Rarity, and I guess Pacifica, but not really, because she was actually a bad guy, unlike the other three. I guess there's not one in Gravity Falls, but that's as close as I could think of. It's almost the same character. Rich, snobby, I don't like him. It surprised me, because I thought this response that I got off this character was the same response I thought I would get from the MLP fans with Rarity, and I didn't. I just said my opinions on a character I disliked, and I tried to give the best answer to why I disliked them, and they didn't have it. No matter what I said about the character, wanted me to like this character, no matter what. And even after that, if I said I didn't, they said I was ignorant. The fan base attacked me so hard. I've never been attacked this hard by a fan base other than the Terraria, but that's literally just funny. So it legitimately threw me back, and I have to say, it's one of the most toxic experiences that I've ever had with a fan base. Much more than Ruby and much more than MLP, and certainly higher than Gravity Falls. I will admit, through this experience, I've actually enjoyed the show less and less, because if it's not that, it's also getting information about the show from little things, or if I miss something in the background, they treat me like I'm an idiot for not noticing something that I just miss in the background. Or of course, sometimes I talk over dialogue. You can see it because I'm trying to make content and jokes, because that's number one on my priority, is to make content and be transformative instead of watch a show. I get it. It's a game of tennis. You got to go back and forth, and every one you watch, it's my first time through. It's surprising how much with that fan base that, unlike others, they're just like, hey Ryan, you missed this. Here's what it said. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. My bad. Sorry. They treated me like I was stupid and like, what the fuck's wrong with you, you fucking idiot? So yeah, I don't know why this is, but I have had a real rough time with the Helluva Boss fan base. But at the same time, I don't know if this is just me, because I haven't seen anyone else have this problem, which, as much as I personally have said this is the worst experiences I've had with a fan base, I don't know if everyone has, and I can't necessarily put them next to Korean pop, politics, card games, Rick and Morty, because they're really bad, and I've seen other people. I'm the only one that's really dealt with it, so really, I'm putting Helluva Boss in the bad. It's almost personally, it's the worst fan base I've ever dealt with, but I don't think other people have. And then, ladies and gentlemen, leaves us to the last fan base, and the one I wanted to talk about the most, because it is the one fan base I know more than any fan base. Since 1999 till now, I have been in this fan base. Since a child till now, and I have seen it all, and I understand it more than any other fan base because I've been in it for the better or for the worse. And ladies and gentlemen, that fan base is professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is a fan base unlike all of these. Professional wrestling is not only one of the most wonderful fan bases where you can make friends like that with a complete stranger with such ease just because you have a fan base. Heck, the entire wrestling community, the wrestlers in themselves, are so drastically different and have nothing in common outside of the love of this sport, and have become friends over this one little thing, but is also one of the most toxic fan bases ever. But here's the catch with professional wrestling and their toxic fans. There is one difference between all these others and professional wrestling. Professional wrestling fans are encouraged to be toxic. The only thing I can find similar to this is sports teams. You know, when sports fans go nuts and they do actual crimes over their love of the sport, which, by the way, is so much worse. Very rarely has professional wrestling gone that far, other than, when they believed it was real and if they got really screwed in these weird, odd times. But those were more in the 90s, pre-90s actually, early 90s than certainly now. It is something that has existed since WCW versus WWE. The fans who hated WWE hated WWE, and they hated the WWE fans. And the WWE fans hated the WCW fans. And this has been encouraged and romanticized forever. And of course, in between that is ECW, a fan base that was the most toxic, cancerous, sexist, everything you can think about as they possibly can, and was encouraged. And the worst part is, looking back at it, I get it. There's something fun about uncensored. It's the same reason people like metal music. It's that You can do anything and you're all together. It's almost this mentality of being able to get a mob mentality together with somebody while also somehow being controlled. It's controlled chaos almost. And it was cool. And as fans, we watch this back and go, whoa, that was so cool. It was so edgy. And we've always loved it. So now when we go to the future, fans hate other fans. WWE fans hate AEW fans. And AEW fans hate WWE fans. And unlike other fandoms, they want the other people to go out of business and lose their jobs. This is the problem with professional wrestling. The worst fans are out there, and they're very common. And I feel like unlike any other, it's extremely encouraged. It's wrestling. It's gross, it's grimy, and truth be told, we like it that way. Look at the 90s in professional wrestling. Look at ECW. We love the gritty, the grimy, and the warfare. But sometimes, as they call in the business, we work ourselves into a shoot. Sometimes we forget that all of this is a television show for fun. And we forget that, and we take those feelings and we put them as if it's real life. It's a weird phenomenon, as professional wrestling is the only show that is fiction and non-fiction at the exact same time. Because sometimes they'll take things that are completely real, and they'll take things that are completely fake, and they put it together, and then you have to make your opinions on it. Problem is, as fans, we always look, and we don't point at the people we don't like. We always point at the fans, saying, you're the problem. You're the reason you're killing the business. Because of things we don't like. And that, folks, is professional wrestling. It is truly the most kindest business and the most toxic business there ever was. I have met people that are strangers with a similar t-shirt, and I have made friends with them like that, easily. But if someone has a differing opinion on you when it comes to company or style, they can be the worst. And I can tell you, any wrestling video ever, you will find a troll, because they are everywheres. Right in the middle, for a different reason than the other ones. But because it is both at the exact same time, ladies and gentlemen, I love professional wrestling, but it is an anomaly when it comes to a fan base. Thanks for joining me for this tier list video, guys. This was very long. I hope you guys enjoyed this idea I had. Yeah, I hope you guys aren't mad at me for opinions on fan bases, or I really try to do things experience-based. I had some that were I found to be just opinion-based, so I cut them. And yeah, thanks for joining me here, everybody. If you have any other cool ideas similar to this one, put it down below. And also, I want to know what you guys think was the worst fan bases that you've personally been a part of, and the best. I want to know the best. I want to know what fan bases deserve to be shouted out, because they just don't get talked about because they're not making a stink. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.